What does financial freedom mean to you? Being able to pay your children's school fees? Starting your own business? Owning your own home? Or driving your dream car? Whatever it means to you, we can help you achieve it and much more. Our team of qualified financial advisors at United Capital are available round the clock to help you achieve your financial goals. Call us today on 07000-INVEST or visit investnow.ng. United Capital is a financial services group offering investment banking, asset management, trusteeship services, and securities trading. United Capital PLC, the intelligent choice.
Smooth 98.1 presents Money Minute with United Capital PLC. Make your money, your finance, and wealth the expert's business.
We're not stopping our investments anywhere else in Nigeria. We're moving full force forward.
Money Minute with United Capital PLC, the intelligent choice.
And good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Smooth 98.1. It is the Smooth Drive. Welcome to Money Minute with United Capital. We have a very special guest in the studio with us this evening. She is the Managing Director of United Capital PLC. Good evening, Mrs. Tokunbo Ajayi. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good to have you in the studio this evening.
It's a pleasure.
Ms. Ajayi holds a bachelor degree of law from University of Ile-Ife. She's a seasoned professional with over 20 years of trusteeship services. She's also a member of the NBA, the FIDA, Nigerian Institute of Management, the Business Recovery and Insolvency Practitioners Association of Nigeria, and the British Council. She's also an alumnus of Phillips Consulting SA and is the financial secretary of ACT. So welcome into the studio. You have quite an impressive portfolio, so I'm sure
plenty.
you can answer all the questions that we might have this evening. For everyone out there, you can join the conversation here. Please send us a message, 0809 444 0981, as we get to talking about wills this evening. Am I right, ma'am?
Yes, certainly. And a slight correction, I'm actually the president of the ACT.
Oh, wow.
Well, there we go. See? There we go. Perfect.
Nearly 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Okay, great.
It's a lot of years. So we're talking writing a will and how it can help secure your family today. So Lagos, once again, the number is 009-444 0981. Would like to have you guys send messages in, and Mrs. Tokunbo Ajayi will answer these for you. So, first off, a lot of people know or perhaps maybe don't know exactly what a will is. So in your expert way of defining this, could you give us a definition for what a will is?
Thank you. I would have a simple definition, and I'll really say what it means basically is that it's a written instrument, though in some instances it could be oral, like when it's an Islamic instrument, or when it's also made by someone in the military. But basically it's a written instrument stating what the maker, and in our parlance we call the maker the testator, who has written the will, how he wants to dispose of his property, and how he also wants to have it distributed to his dependents. They could be beneficiaries, they could be his community, they could be also his religious affiliations. So basically it gives you the opportunity to state what you want, and you don't leave that to the native land custom or also to the rules of intestacy.
So who can draw a will? Can anybody just draw a will? Regardless of what you own or what you've not done or done, can anybody draw a will?
It's actually advisable for every adult to have a will, except you, like I mentioned earlier, you're in the paramilitary or under military service. But then it's advisable you have a will stated, no matter how simple. But then you could always in future have it amended. You could have it amended by re-executing the will. You could have it republished. Or you could also have it revalidated by a codicil. And a codicil is basically a mini will.
Okay. All right. So what do you need to own before you can think of drawing up a will? Do you need to have gathered quite a large amount of property? And at what age would you recommend drafting your first will?
Well, there's always been that misconception that you need to really have a lot of property.
Don't you?
You really don't need to,
Uh-oh.
because what really happens is we all really have one or two things, and because it's not something you could really determine when it occurs. You don't want the few and the little you have to now fall into the wrong hands, like it typically does in our climb. And then what then happens is that your dependents, or probably, and as in some instances, the loved ones you would have wanted to actually benefit from, like you might say, the meager property you have, they wouldn't have the opportunity, and then they'll be left to actually suffer.
Okay, so
for your lack of action.
now, what I'm used to noting is a will is that very hard to find piece of document that was left behind by someone who's died. Now, the way we saw it in the movies and all was you had to ransack that house to
It's only
find
for
it.
rich people.
It's only for rich people. They had it stashed in a grandfather clock or somewhere under the stove or some. It's hard to. And I'm like, why hide it away from the family? Is it supposed to be something that's kept under such secrecy? Is my question. Or who should be the custodian of a will?
Well, basically, it's because of the confidentiality and because it's an instrument that speaks from the grave. And which implies that you don't really want the dependents or your beneficiaries to know the contents of your will. But then in some instances, because you find society evolving, you also have individuals that actually spell out how they want their properties disposed of. So they've already done that. Now, but basically what happens with the will is that you have it drafted by professionals, and it could be, you have lawyers that do draft wills, you have other trust practitioners, and then what happens is you have a copy registered at the probate registry of your state. You could also have it with your church. You could have it with your mosque. You could have it, but it's not. You could have it with your legal lawyer. But it's nice to have it registered. So, where you have a dispute as to which one is the most recent, the registered will prove that. Because you could have a couple during the
and also you could have updated it from time to time.
Oh yes, it's really necessary to update it because our circumstances change as we evolve, we change, we grow older, we acquire more properties, our families grow, our dependents increase. So it's necessary to change your will.
I could have asked you what the advantages or importance of having a will are, but I think you've pretty much just it's kind of like, but just reiterate, just so we're sure on, and everybody out there notes what the importance and the advantage of having a will is.
Oh, thank you for that. Basically, what it does is that it enables you erode all the rules of inheritance that would have come as a result of your native law and custom. We all know we all have that. And then it also excludes the prescribed statutory rules of intestacy, which means you've died without a will. And you've died intestate. It's intestate.
Intestate.
You die intestate. So what it implies is your dependents will now have to apply for, it's called letters of administration. It's a cumbersome process and it's quite expensive.
Okay.
And you would also have to get a bond. You have to pay. It's much more expensive than a will.
Now, I noticed that you noted the influence of our traditional laws.
Yes.
Is that something that is a challenge here in this part of the world, in Nigeria, in every culture? What about the law that says if I'm married to you and you pass away, that in a state of intestacy, that whatever you had becomes mine as your partner or as your legally married partner? Doesn't that apply then?
Well, what happens is that under the native land custom, because what we've had is you leave it to application of either. Now, if your dependents do not choose to go and apply for the letters of administration, and they have strict rules as to how your property could evolve, then it's left to the family members to act, and the elders or the society, depending on what area of the country you come from. They now decide according to what your custom is. And then really they would have no choice, and it might not have been what you wanted. So it's better to have one appointed if you have infant children, appoint guardians, have that in place. Also, if you want to have certain preferences as to how you want them to dispose of your properties, your body, where you want to be buried, a simple ceremony, it's best to have stated that.
Okay.
If you want your property to evolve into a family property, it's better to have stated that. Now, if you also want to distribute, and we have customs whereby it's for some parts of the country, the women are still regarded as chattel. What it implies is they don't have the right, because they're married, they don't have the right to come and inherit. So, but you want your daughters to have a say or to have a claim in your estate, it's best to have stated that.
I'm going to let you ask that question, but let me first remind Lagos that you can send it in WhatsApp messages to ask your questions as well. 0809-4440-981. That's 0809-4440-981. It is Money Minute with United Capital. In the studio here we have Mrs. Tokunbo Ajayi, and she is giving us some education here about writing a will.
All right, so what are the basic elements of a valid will?
Thank you for that, Howard. So basically, for a valid will, you need to have had it in writing.
Okay.
Under the statutory law. Though, like I mentioned earlier, under the Sharia law, you could have an oral will.
Okay.
And then it has to have been written. And then 2, beyond having written it, you have to actually own the property you're disposing of.
Right.
You just don't write and say, and then you don't own it. Then it wouldn't have been worth the paper it's written on. Then in addition to that, you have to be of sound mind.
Right.
Now,
how do they
assess?
Exactly.
Now, what we advise as professionals is that you also have a doctor attest to that on that instrument.
Okay.
Because over time, we've realized that we've had cases, various litigation, based on that aspect. Because what would happen is that you need it to have been made under free will. And if it was made with coercion, it's possible for someone to later on claim that this will was made under undue influence. And as a result, the will could be discarded.
So a signature wouldn't do?
No, a signature wouldn't just do, because in addition to the signature, you need to have had 2 witnesses.
Would you need
sign.
a lawyer present as well? Or
Well,
just
you don't need a lawyer
witnesses?
present, but you need 2 witnesses present at the same time.
Okay.
So you can't execute now on the 2nd, and then 7 days later get the second witness. They ought to be there at the same time, and you two have to sign in front of them. Now, we've had questions whereby if someone is of unsound mind after, or they develop that situation or circumstance after they've executed a valid will, the valid will will still be operational.
Okay.
But if it's proven that during the period they were under influence or they were not of sound mind, then the will would be discarded.
Okay.
It wouldn't be valid.
And then the 2 witnesses cannot be included within the will. They can't be beneficiaries.
Certainly, they must not be beneficiaries.
Okay.
It wouldn't be valid.
Now, you were talking about the Sharia will, the Islamic will. Can you explain to us a little more about that?
Yes, we've always had that misconception that can Muslims actually write wills? And it's another vast topic. Yes, you'll notice that Muslims have been advised to actually also draft their wills. And basically, we were told that they have 4 duties to perform. And that is the payment of their funeral expenses, the payment of their debts. They have to execute a will. And then they also have to distribute whatever estate is remaining amongst their heirs and dependents.
Okay.
Now, what it also implies is that what we advise our Islamic clients is that draft that will. And the Islamic will is actually also called the al-waziyah. And it's best to have done it with a clergy.
Okay.
So, and then with that clergy, it's known that you followed all the tenets of your religion. And it's compliant with the Sharia rules and regulations as per disposal of estate.
So noting how important it is to have a will in place, why, however, is there a sense of apathy when it comes to having a will, a drawn-up will?
Especially in our society.
Exactly.
Knowing that we have different traditional laws for when someone passes.
Exactly, that
concerning
interfere
their
with
property and their wives.
Oh, yes. You find out that, one, for us in our society, most people regard drafting a will as a taboo. In fact, they don't want to hear about it, irrespective of their age. And even professionals, they kind of like procrastinate about it. And because it's a topic that's not brought to the fore, you find out that to actually even discuss it, and even where a will is being drafted, like you said, there's so much secrecy around it. You could draft a will and your dependents don't have to have known the content, but let them know, I do have a will. And in the event of the eventuality, this is because you register that will and you get a receipt. But that receipt cannot be recovered except probably after the event of your death, or also if you want to have a codicil or you want to revoke and re-execute another will. And by so doing, it can only be done, one, by either the lawyer that wrote the will or the chambers, or the organization or the company that actually prepares that will, because they'll have that receipt and they have to apply. But if you now want to revoke that will, you need to have to also swear to an affidavit stating you want to revoke that will and attaching the receipt.
Okay.
Now that receipt is vital. So it's necessary for you to keep a copy where your family members or whoever is your dependent will be able to have a copy of that. So they can now approach the professionals to have that will retrieved. Now that will be retrieved and read at a session.
Okay.
And it's been done at the probate high court.
Okay.
In whatever state where you reside.
Wow. There is never enough time to have these discussions.
No, I know.
Mrs. Ajayi. And it always happens that when it's getting really interesting is when we have to round up. But I'm going to let you round up by giving some sort of advice to people out there, everyone out there, about this issue or this the writing of a will and how it is of very, very big importance in our lives, especially for those we leave behind.
And maybe like tips on when would be a convenient time or a recommended time to draft a will, maybe like after the birth of a child or the acquisition of a new building or a marriage, and the steps it takes to edit and revoke a will. Sorry, there's like 3 questions packed into one.
I hope you can do it in 1 minute because we're out of time.
Oh, no.
Like you said, it's certainly important to, like we said, our circumstances change. We marry, we bereaved, we give birth to children. Our children also give birth to children.
Yes.
And we also recommend a residual clause in the will, so that even assets you haven't yet acquired or you've forgotten about because it happens, because it's a process whereby you might have to do it in a haste. We can't tell. So you have a residual clause to also cover properties you might not have mentioned or you might also acquire in future. And what we also recommend is it's nice to we pray we have time to be able to always execute our desires as we want. But just in case, it's nice to have that in place. And it's nice to also have played around with it. So you find out that some individuals would have had like 4 or 5 wills during their lifetime. The first might not be the best cut, but then by the time you get onto the second and third, it gets easier and it also gets simpler. And to also make that easy, we've also designed a simple will formation within our Invest Now portfolio, whereby clients could just go in there and have a simple will done.
How can they get access to this, please?
Now, they can get access to that by going online, and they could also, United Capital web address, they check us on unitedcapitalplcgroup.com. We have our Invest Now website address, investnow.ng. And then Invest Now is also available on the Google Play Station, Invest Now. And then we have a call center number, 07000 invest. So we have
07000 invest.
So they will just indicate it for wills.
Well, Mrs. Ajayi, we are so happy that you came over to help discuss this very important topic about writing wills.
We have a question. I am so sorry to slip this one in
at the end of it, but we will. Do the witnesses have to know the content of the will?
No, they don't.
No,
that's why, because it's private, it's secret.
Okay.
All right, Kunle, thanks for sending that.
Thank you, Kunle. Well, thank you very much, Mrs. Ajayi, once again. We do hope that we have you back again, and I love your calm. It is so reassuring.
That's over 30 years of experience for you,
Wow,
Ms.
it's
Zeno.
beautiful. I want to be you.
Thank you for
Thank
the
you
kind
very
words. We'll be back again.
Oh,
Yes.
definitely. We look forward.
Certainly.
We look forward. Thank you very much,
to that.
Lagos, for being a part of this as well. Do remember now, like she has just said, that they will be back and you will have questions then. Perhaps maybe send them in. We'll give you the avenue to do so. Until then, keep listening. We are Smooth 98.1. It is Howard Mukhan, Mazino Appeal. We will be right back.
Money Minute with United Capital PLC.
We have a $250 million investment.
Make your money, your finance, and wealth the expert's business.
We're not stopping our investments anywhere else in Nigeria. We're moving full force forward.
Money Minute with United Capital PLC. The intelligent choice.
Money Minute with United Capital PLC is a finance program that provides valuable information about the stock market, investing, and financial literacy, allowing listeners to learn more about managing their finances, investing money, and the many untapped investment opportunities in Nigeria that you guys can really take advantage of. So for all you salary earners, this one is for you. Get your money to work for you by diligently investing and listening to trusted financial advisors on Money Minutes with United Capital PLC on Smooth 98.1 every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. as they guide you on your path to financial freedom. Whatever your financial goals are, this show is definitely for you. You can call in and ask questions about financial instruments like stocks, mutual funds, private investment trusts, and the experts will be here to give you the answers that you are looking for. You won't believe how much your money can grow, even if it still looks small to you right now. The reason most people don't invest their money is because they believe it takes too long to get returns from it. Is this true or is it a myth? Tune in to Money Minute with United Capital PLC on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. on Smooth 98.1 to find out more. To find out more. To find out more.